Walk into any Canadian bank right now, and they'll offer you a GIC paying 4 or 5% interest. Guaranteed. No risk. Sounds great, especially after years of watching the stock market swing up and down. But is a GIC actually a good investment for you? Or is it a product banks love to sell because it's profitable for them? The answer, like most things in personal finance, is it depends. And today I'm going to give you the framework to know exactly when a GIC makes sense and when your money should be somewhere else. GIC stands for Guaranteed Investment Certificate. When you buy a GIC, you're essentially lending money to a bank for a fixed period. 30 days, 6 months, 1 year, up to 5 years, and the bank pays you a guaranteed interest rate in return. At the end of the term, you get your full principal back plus the interest earned. The return is locked in from day one. Unlike stocks or ETFs, the value of a GIC doesn't fluctuate. You know exactly what you'll earn before you commit. GICs held at Canadian banks and credit unions are covered by deposit insurance, CIDIC for banks up to $100,000 per category, and provincial deposit insurance for credit unions. Your principal is protected even if the institution fails. That combination of guaranteed return and deposit insurance is genuinely appealing. The question is whether the guaranteed return is worth it compared to your alternatives. There are clear situations where a GIC is the right choice. Short-term savings goals. As mentioned in a previous video, money you'll need within the next 1 to 5 years should not be in the stock market. A crash right before you need to withdraw is a real problem. If you're saving for a home down payment, a car, a wedding, or a planned expense in the next few years, a GIC earning 4 to 5% is an excellent place to park that money. You get a real return with zero risk to your principal. Emergency fund top-up. Once you have your core emergency fund in a high-interest savings account, liquid and accessible, any additional safety net money beyond that can reasonably go into a short-term GIC for a better rate, as long as you're confident you won't need it immediately. Near retirement income stabilization. As you get closer to retirement and start shifting from accumulation to capital preservation, moving a portion of your portfolio into GICs reduces your exposure to a bad sequence of market returns right before you stop working. A bad market in your first few years of retirement is significantly more damaging than one in your 30s. GICs help buffer that risk. For long-term wealth building, money you won't need for 10 years or more, GICs are almost always the wrong choice. The math is straightforward. A GIC paying 5% today sounds appealing, but over 20 or 30 years, a diversified equity ETF has historically returned 7 to 9% annually. That difference in return, compounded over decades, is enormous. On $50,000 invested for 25 years, at 5% you end up with about $169,000. At 8% you end up with about $342,000. The GIC costs you roughly $173,000 in foregone growth. GICs also don't protect you from inflation in the long run. If inflation runs at 3% and your GIC pays 4%, your real return is only 1%. Over a long investing horizon, inflation erodes fixed-rate returns in a way that a diversified equity portfolio, which tends to grow above inflation over time, does not. The emotional appeal of a guaranteed return is real, but for money with a long time horizon, that guarantee comes at a very high cost. Here's the simple framework. GICs for short-term goals and capital preservation near retirement, ETFs for long-term wealth building. Don't mix them up in either direction. One practical tip, if you do use GICs, shop beyond your main bank. Credit unions and online banks like EQ Bank and Oaken Financial consistently offer higher GIC rates than the Big Five. A 0.5 to 1% difference on a $50,000 GIC over 5 years is a meaningful amount of money for zero extra work. Next week, we're covering something that affects every single Canadian with a paycheck: how to actually read your pay stub, where all that deducted money is going, and a few things you might be able to do to keep more of it. Subscribe, and I'll see you then. See you then.